Oppo doesn't really hold back when it comes to smartphone design. If they have a design that they think works, they will often go with it, whether it's practical or not. So you end up with phones that have manually rotating cameras, or a shark's fin, or a top section that slides up so you don't get any bezels or camera cutouts. Even their most normal looking recent smartphone, the Oppo Find X5 Pro, comes with a leather option that somehow is still IP68 water and dust resistant. And in a world full of identical wafers, I really appreciate this kind of wackiness. But that's not to say that Oppo can't make a normal smartphone, because the Oppo Find X3 Pro is a perfect example of this. It had practically everything you'd want in a flagship smartphone, and then some. But naturally, since it was Oppo, there was bound to be some weird new hardware feature. And in this case, it was a truly jaw-dropping camera called the micro lens.
What the f***? That's much better than the ones that I've used so far.
Now though, they've got another smartphone. It's called the Oppo Find X5 Pro, and from initial impressions, it looks like yet another slam dunk flagship smartphone that's gunning for the Galaxy S's crown. Now, I'm not exaggerating when I say that this phone ticks basically every box that you'd want in a flagship Android smartphone. You want good performance? Well, it's got a Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 processor mated to 12 gigs of RAM. You want a big battery with fast charging? This phone's got a 5000 mAh battery with support for 80-watt SuperVOOC fast wired charging and 50-watt AirVOOC wireless charging. With the inbox chargers, you can fully top up this device in just 35 minutes. 35 minutes! Want a good screen? Up front, you'll find a 6.7-inch Quad HD Plus curved AMOLED display with a 120Hz adaptive refresh rate. And yes, it does look absolutely gorgeous. Need IP68 water resistance? Check. 5G? Check. 256 gigs of UFS storage? Check. And I haven't even touched on the fact that this phone has a really nice set of stereo speakers. They sound full and they place the vocals front and center, which honestly is exactly what you'd want from a flagship smartphone speakers.
Instead, they want to do it with this bad boy.
Perhaps the only debatable aspect of this phone's flagship features is its camera. On paper, it looks fine. A triple camera setup with a telephoto and ultra-wide that also doubles as a macro is the layout that you'd want. Oppo also introduced a dedicated imaging NPU called the Mari Silicon X, whose key strengths are supposed to be power efficiency, dynamic range, and low light color. And the photos they take are quite nice across the board. Daylight photos are vibrant yet natural, which is the kind of balance I like to strike when it comes to color processing. But it does struggle with dynamic range in my experience, despite the Mari Silicon X's claims. If you take a backlit shot like this, for example, you'll notice an utter lack of detail in the shadows in the foreground. Though this is a pretty common problem among smartphones because, the sensors are small, so it's not like a big anomaly. My least favorite thing though is how the lens performs near the fringes. There is noticeable distortion at the corners even when shooting at 1x, which isn't really what I like to see. Low light performance though is rather good. I didn't have time to do a comprehensive low light photography test, but just pointing and shooting these images, I really like how the colors turned out. They're quite close to what I saw with my own eyes, and that's not something you see very often on smartphones. With the exception of probably the Galaxy S22 series, most low-light images appear more desaturated in photos than they do in real life. I'm not sure if this is the Mari Silicon X at work because they specifically mention low-light video and not photo, but either way, I like the way the low-light photos look. I am, however, disappointed in the fact that the micro lens doesn't make a return to the Oppo Find X5 Pro. But you do get a normal macro camera, which I guess functionally is more useful. I also appreciate how seamless the transition between normal and macro is, while also retaining the same kind of color information despite switching camera modules. Functionally, I think the Oppo Find X5 Pro is about as good as it gets when it comes to an Android flagship smartphone. And I even think that they've improved the software to the point where it's palatable now. But then now, when you take all of that function and wrap it up in one of the nicest feeling smartphone bodies, mamma mia! I normally rank how much I like a smartphone's body to how expensive it feels in the hand. That means it has to have the right textures and the right weight, and the light has to reflect off of it in just the right kind of way. And the Find X5 Pro pretty much nails every aspect of this. The back panel is made of one seamless piece of nanometer microcrystalline ceramic that takes 168 hours to make each. And that care and attention that's put into it pays massive dividends. There's almost like an organic texture to it that helps it look unlike any other glass back. And I can confirm it looks even better in black. Plus, ceramic has the added benefit of being much harder than glass, so you won't get as many micro scratches. Like, for example, I've been using this phone for about a day now with no case, and the surface is still flawless. So does this make it more brittle than glass? I don't know, because I haven't dropped it yet, so I can't really say that it will break more easily upon impact. But at the same time, I also cannot say for sure that it won't. So regardless, this phone feels really nicely put together. It has that expensive heft that you'd get from a stainless steel iPhone with the flush seams from a Galaxy S flagship device. But it also has a tiny bit of that Oppo flair with the non-symmetrical camera bump. It's great. But as ridiculous as it sounds to say out loud, it's not weird enough. Let me explain. This is the current iPhone 13 Pro. This is the one before that. And this is the one before that. Wow. Here's the Galaxy S22. And the one before that. And the one before that. Now, this is the Oppo Find X3 Pro. While this phone with this leather back is actually its predecessor, the Find X2 Pro. And this one, where the whole top moves up and down to reveal its camera, that's the original Find X. Do you see what I'm saying now? Yes, the 4,999 ringgit Oppo Find X5 Pro is probably the best flagship smartphone that Oppo has made since the Find X3 Pro. But looking at the differences between this and the one before it, compared to that and the one before it, makes me a little bit worried. Now, is it a bad thing that they finally found a formula that works? Or is it a bad thing that they finally have an excellent smartphone that can compete with the best? Well, no, not for their bottom line it won't. But as a smartphone fan, I like seeing cool things. I like it when big smartphone companies take big chances and push the envelope. After all, Oppo's always had a history of making wacky, awesome things. And if they stop doing it now, who will? Alright, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't get me wrong, I think the Find X5 Pro is a really good phone. I would just probably have liked it a little bit more if it was just a little bit weirder. But let me know what you think of this smartphone in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But that is it for this video. So thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We're all there, but our home on the internet will always be at suryachinshaw.com. Until the next video, I'm Rory, and I'll see you there. Bye!